Okay, we're just starting now. And we are live. Hello, it's Matt from Excel Pro Tech, and today I'm just going to talk about a bit about the UK general election, which is happening tomorrow. So we're going to just cover what you should do if you don't know who to vote for, and how to sort of make your own mind up based on sort of hard facts about their manifestos, etc., etc. So a lot of the polls, a lot of the news articles about the UK general election has been pretty biased, to be honest with you. It's been about the personality, it's been about Corbyn, it's been about Theresa May, and it's been about all the sort of candidates who are up for election, and not particularly featured very many facts about what each manifesto is actually proposing and how it's going to benefit or not benefit, as the case may be, individuals and businesses as well. So let's have a quick look. If you are undecided on voting still, hopefully you're not. Hopefully you've made a decision already. There is quite an interesting thing on the Guardian website about what each manifesto is proposing, and it's covering Conservatives, Labours, Liberal Democrats, SNP, UKIP, Green, and I'm gonna say this wrong. Played Kimru, the Welsh one. I'm so sorry for everyone who's Welsh. Let's show you that right now. So it is at the Guardian, and the general tagline is "Who should I vote for in the UK election manifesto?" The manifestos compared. So it's what it does handily is break everything down into different segments. So it's we've got Brexit here, we've got how each party is going to deal with the economy, how each party is going to deal with the health, the NHS, etc., etc. Education, we've got immigration, tax and spendings, housing and the environment, and foreign and defence. So it gives a really good sort of general outline of everything that's going on, if you haven't already made up your mind already. But yeah, I thought that was a really good way of doing it. Basically, you're voting for the manifesto that you want to see implemented in the UK. And there's a lot of hogwash out there. There's absolute just crap about what each person has said on, especially on Facebook and Twitter and everything like that. This person said this, and you look at what they actually said or listen to what they actually said, and it's not true at all. There's so much fake news, and the sort of general election has just maximise the amount of fake news that's going around regarding all the parties and the candidates. Hopefully, if you read this, you can sort of make your own mind up based off this general summary of what each party is campaigning for if they do get elected. So obviously it is a two-horse race. We're looking at either Conservative win or a Labour win. Potentially what we might have is a hung parliament. So if we do get a hung parliament, potentially if we get a hung parliament, we could basically, when in a hung parliament, there's no majority of one party, so one party will have to form a coalition with another lesser party who the party with the majority can decide to increase their share in the sort of government with. And basically we've already had a coalition government. I think it was 2010 possibly. It wasn't that great, let's be honest with you. But let's see with this one. I really do think it's going to be tight. It's going to be, as I say, it's a two-horse race between Conservative and Labour. Basically Labour standing for everything that Conservatives don't. I honestly thought the manifesto that the Conservatives brought out was not as strong as the one that Labour has brought out. The Labour are going for the youth vote with free education places for universities. The only thing about Labour is that people are concerned with is Jeremy Corbyn's stance on the nuclear missile Trident programme. They say that they are going to renew that programme, the Trident missile programme, which obviously costs the UK a lot of money, but he will not say yes or no that he will or will not press the button if the UK is attacked. He will not press he doesn't think that well, we're assuming that he won't press the button on the nuclear Trident missiles if the UK is attacked. But what he is saying is basically that a nuclear attack is a horrible waste of lives, and that he aims to work more closely with nations so that eventuality, that doesn't happen. But you can never. I don't think that you can ever really say for sure that even through negotiations and talking with countries like, hostile countries like North Korea, etc., rogue nations, as you might call them, that even through dialogue with them, that you may not be able to get them to behave, or you may not be able to stop them buying arms in from other countries and launching an attack on someone who they feel is an aggressor to them. So that's the thing. I think one of the main things. The NHS features quite heavily in Labour. They're going to be investing more, a hell of a lot more than the Conservatives. So if we read this, Labour's going to be committing 30 billion into the NHS, whereas the Conservatives a minimum of 8 billion in real terms. So they've left a bit of leeway there by saying minimum of 8 billion. But Labour are actually committing to 30 billion investment in the NHS, which I do think the NHS needs a shot in the arm. But anyway, let's go on to business. How, if you're watching as a small business, how should you feel about each of the manifestos? As I say, you can read all this information on the Guardian website anyway, blah, 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 blah. So, another one of the things that Labour is proposing is a £10 minimum wage. So, I'm not sure when they would want to put that into practice. I think possibly it's a 2020 that they aim to get that in by 2020. The concern for small businesses like myself is that if you put if you raise it by that much, am I going to be able to employ staff, for £10 an hour? And what happens to skilled labourers who are sort of already at sort of £10 an hour? Does their wage stay the same, or do you increase their wage but ever so slightly compared to the minimum wage? There's a few things that are questionable in raising it to £10 an hour. As I say, as a micro business, as a small business, it potentially what other small businesses might have to do is make someone redundant because they've got this sudden increase in wage that they have to pay. So they're having to pay more. So let's say they have 5 employees, and their wages basically have to increase from about £7.50 an hour to £10 an hour. You're probably going to lose one of those staff if you're not earning enough that you to pay that extra person. But the counter side to that is that potentially people will have more money in their pockets because they'll go home with more money. And if the average person is getting more money in their pockets, then that can only be a good thing. But will this increase to £10 an hour? Will that make people redundant in the short term, but improve things generally for the economy in the long term? It's a difficult one to call, and it's all going to depend on the Brexit negotiations that we undertake, and basically what we had something on the Brexit negotiations right at the top here. So the Brexit negotiations. So Conservatives are going in hardline with the EU. They're saying basically that if the offer that the EU offer us isn't good enough, well, then we will have no deal. So they're basically saying that we're basically playing hardball. We're going to say, Conservatives are basically saying, if that deal isn't good enough, we're not going for it. We're not going for it, and you'll have to come back to us with something else. The Labour manifesto, on the other hand, completely the opposite, in a sense, because they're saying that basically, let's go to the actual Brexit one, that they are rejecting the no deal. So they're basically saying, we're going to campaign for a really good deal, but I guess in the end, we need to make that deal. Is the long and the short of it. We can't afford to say by the end of the 2-year things and say, I'm sorry, that deal's not good enough for us. And hopefully, with I think they have a solicitor who is going to be dealing with the Brexit negotiations. The Conservatives have Boris Johnson, I think. Obviously, he'll be backed by a team, but from my perspective, a lawyer would be a better negotiator, perhaps, than Boris Johnson. For the EU, just my opinion. Hopefully, some people will share that opinion as well. So, as far as the Brexit negotiations are concerned, I think Conservatives with a hardball approach could inadvertently wreck the whole negotiation with if they're going to throw the toys out the pram when we're offered something by the EU. But at the same time, we don't want to be shortchanged. We do want a good deal when we leave the EU and Brexit finally occurs. So only time will tell. And I guess tomorrow and Friday, when we actually find out the result, will we actually know which way we're gonna go with the Brexit? Are we going to go this hard line Conservative route? Are we going to go this Labour route? Are we going to end up with a hung parliament? Are we going to go with a Labour Liberal Democrat or Labour SNP coalition? Wow, what's going to happen then? Because SNP basically wants Scotland to remain in the EU, after the Brexit occurs. So, what is going to happen? It's all to play for tomorrow. So, it is really important. If you haven't decided who to vote for, it's really important to vote, because this basically governs the next 4 to 5 years. And it's going to basically govern how we Brexit as well. So if you are a small business owner, if you're a micro business owner, any sort of business owner, the onus really is on you to try and make the right decision, what you think is going to be best for your business, and how you feel about the different policies. Are you going to be? Are you in with the Labour that's increasing the minimum wage will help people get more money in their pockets? And help in the long term, even though there may be a slight short term deficiency in that one. I mean, the Conservatives have also said that they will raise national minimum wage as well. They've basically left that quite open, so potentially they could do the same thing. They could increase it as much as £10. They could even increase it further, I guess. But don't believe, there are so many things about the leaders. Most of the hate has been directed towards Corbyn and May in this campaign, and let's see who we will end up with on Friday. But it's going to be close. I really do think it's going to be close. The last thing that we want is a hung parliament. As small business owners, we don't want a hung parliament. We want to, hopefully there will be a majority one way or the other. because if we have a hung parliament, that's going to be bad for the economy. Economic forecasts have produced that if the Conservatives win and take the majority, the markets will go up. So share prices will increase, etc., etc. The economy will be happy. Whoever dictates that, bankers, no doubt, bankers will be happy with the Conservative win. A Labour majority, a Labour win, markets will go down. So, yeah, as I say, this is bankers, so the bankers won't be pleased that Labour wins. And in the event of a hung parliament, again, markets are going to go down. And businesses are will slightly suffer. Markets, shares will plummet slightly. I don't know how by how much. They're predicting that, but it's markets want consistency, I guess, and Conservatives just staying in charge would be a consistent way forward, I guess, in their view. Let's see what happens tomorrow, and how you vote, how everyone votes in the UK, and how how this pans out. Let's it really does matter how you vote tomorrow. I mean, I know that a few businesses in the IT industry have actually told their staff how to vote if they want to continue their job, which isn't particularly right in my opinion. But please, if you can vote, please do so. Don't leave it to the last minute, because there might be a mad rush in your area to your polling station at the last minute. You might not actually be able to vote, to cast your vote, if the polling station is full. So make sure you schedule yourself, if you can, in the morning, in the afternoon, or whatever. Don't leave it to the last minute, because you might not get in. There's been plenty of places where that's happened before on general elections, and also with the Brexit as well. There was a few polling stations that basically just had a mad rush at the last minute, and people couldn't cast their vote. So, and again, Brexit was really close. If those people had been able to cast their vote, maybe Brexit would have been different. But yeah, so all to play for tomorrow. Let's hope on Friday morning we're not waking up with a hung parliament. That would be the worst outcome for everyone. And it basically means we're going to have a coalition, which generally don't work as well as people might think, as we've learned from the past. So this has been Matt from Excel Pro Tech. Hopefully this has been enlightening for you. As I say, take a look at this Guardian exit, where they break down the various manifestos of all the parties, and make sure that you vote tomorrow. And you might be thinking, well, I don't want Conservative or Labour. Should I still vote some of the smaller parties or an independent? Yeah, by all means, independents. If you want an independent in your local constituency, yeah, that would be great. How much power they will have, though, is going to be marginal as regards budgets, etc., etc. So you will, if you vote Green Party, for instance, there is potential that perhaps Labour, need another party if it's in the event of a hung election. So your party could still, if yours is the highest small party, potentially that they could still be in a coalition with one of the bigger parties. So, but yeah, it is going to be it's going to be a two-horse race. Again, we could see a situation where another party come up totally unexpectedly. We had Liberal Democrats, I think it was 2010 election, and they basically came out of the blue. They had a good manifesto at the time, and then they actually formed part of the coalition. So there is that. There is that way to go. So just vote for who you want to be leading this country through the Brexit, and vote on their manifesto pledges. And when it's all said and done, we as the people need to hold these parties to their pledges as well. and hopefully they won't backtrack on their pledges. If you've voted for a particular pledge and they don't keep it, we need to ensure that they keep their pledges from this election, and these pledges that they've made do not get forgotten about like they have so many times in so many other elections. So this is Matt from XL Pro Tech. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I can do some more. Probably I'll do one on Friday when we find out the results of the election, and we'll go through what all this means and and which way we're going to be heading into the election. But it's an interesting times. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, and I will hopefully speak to you on Friday. Thank you so much. Bye bye for now.